Miracles versus Grixis Painter for round number 11. And in a moment here, the players will be given the green light and we'll be underway. It's a flooded strand here for Joe. We watched him earlier yesterday. Pretty seamlessly took care of a Teamer Delver deck. You could tell he was very comfortable in the matchup.
Yeah, I think this matchup's going to be a bit more challenging. The way that the Painter Servant deck works is you get Painter Servant into play, you name a color, usually blue. With Grindstone, you activate that, you flip over your opponent's deck. Because you have Painter Servant naming blue as part of your deck, and Legacy is so blue-based, you play some main deck Power Blast. The mono red builds, or the red splashing white, they have up to 7 or 8 main deck copies of Red Blast. Lewis over here only playing with 3 in the main deck. With the Grixis cards there, he's got other stuff going on. A lot of Planeswalkers as well, Tezzeret and Dak Vaden.
It's a Scalding Tarn here for Gentile, and he'll just pass the turn back. Over to the set we go. He's going to spin the top on his upkeep on turn number 2. One thing I always find fascinating watching Miracles players, be it Joe, be it Reed Duke, or whoever it is playing the deck, just how they kind of use their top.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to activate it on turn 1 on your upkeep? Do you just want to take a draw step and then take a look at cards afterwards, stuff like that? It's a pretty complicated card, and how the best way to use it is always debatable, I think.
Well, step 1 for this deck is just land drops. So normally when you see someone activating inside the upkeep, it has something to do with trying to hunt for lands.
A Great Furnace into a Grindstone. Don't see Great Furnace much. Here's a Mott's Opal.
Okay. Metalcraft is achieved.
That's true. Could just go for Painter Servant right now. Yeah, looks like he's going to sacrifice a Scalding Tarn. There's Underground Sea. Now, Joe, of course, a veteran of Legacy, so in some situations, I think some players wouldn't know what they're really up against. It wouldn't surprise me if Joe's just thinking, okay, I've seen Grixis Painter before. This isn't much of a surprise.
Well, the specifics, maybe Joe doesn't have a firm grasp on, but he knows that this is the combo. This is the end state here. The rest of the deck, who knows what's going on with the black cards necessarily, but...
Assuming Painter resolves, we'll get confirmation on the color that it's naming. But this is the 1-2 punch.
Yep.
If Gentile gets to untap and activate this, game over. Now the set does have Swords of Plowshares in hand. And he just looks like he just drew a copy of Force of Will. Now, blue was the name there with Painter's Servant. Not too much of a surprise, given the build of these decks. Sometimes you do see players get a little crafty, name green, something like that.
Yeah, you want to do it in spots where you're worried about Red Blast from the other side of the table. Then you start naming other colors.
Here's Force of Will from Gentile. He's going to exile Intuition as part of the alternate casting cost for the counterspell. Joe has a Force of Will of his own. And remember, because blue is the name, all of the cards now are blue. So if Joe wants to remove a white card, that works because it's actually blue too.
Yep.
So you can get a little bit crafty with Force of Will when Painter Servant is on the battlefield. Removing even lands if you want to, because those are blue too. Joe going to spin his top. And what I think he's going to try to accomplish here is he wants to just find a card that he can draw with top that's kind of meh.
Well, I think what he would like to do here is if there is a white source of mana in the top 3 cards, he could use the top to draw it. And then instead of using one of his very valuable Force of Wills, he could just play a land and try to play Swords to Plowshares on the Painter Servant a second time. And then Force of Will in case that fails as well. But using a Force of Will here kind of stinks from Joe's side.
He'll draw a card. Found a Snapcaster Mage. What he doesn't have is a 3rd land at this point. And now he's going to draw another card. So he'll draw the top, put top on top of his deck. And I think he's just going to use top with Force of Will. Because top is blue.
Yep.
So there you go.
Now, as you mentioned, Joe definitely knows his way around these parts.
This isn't new.
Yep.
I know he's got 4 standard open wins to just only 1 legacy win, but a lot of what he does on his stream and just in general is he just plays Legacy. So I don't think you're going to catch Lossett off guard with any kind of unique decks. As we head back Gentile's way, one thing to note here is that Mox Opal still does have Metalcraft. Didn't need Painter to do it. So he is working with 3 mana right now, and it looks like he may have to draw another copy of Painter, perhaps. So maybe he goes to the well one more time. Yep. What's also interesting here is if you're Joe, he's got another Force Will in his hand, I believe. And I'm a little scared right now because, yes, I have a Swords in my hand, but if my opponent just plays like an Ancient Tomb or a City of Traders, I just die.
Yes.
So in a spot like this where we're working with very good information on what's in both players' hands, Joe could just die right now, but it doesn't look like he's going to, and he's not going to fight over the Painter Servant. Here's a Sensei's Divining Top. Curious to see if Joe might want to counter this one. This is a pretty powerful card. He knows that because it's in his own deck. Though it's certainly much better in his deck than in Lewis's.
Well, Gentile is showing no real way to shuffle the deck, and it's not common that these decks are overloaded on shuffle effects. And I think at the end of the day, Lossett's counterspells are just too precious in this matchup to be using on things like Sensei's Divining Top.
Ponder time. Joe's in the hunt for lands. Now, he does have Swords of Plowshares in hand. But I don't think he found a land with that Ponder, so now it's time for a mystery card. And we'll see what Lossett can find. Mystery card. Ugh, Terminus.
About the worst case scenario there.
Yeah, not great. There's Swords. Well, draw a card with top. Maybe he finds a Force Will. But he doesn't. So, Painter down. Gentile will gain a little bit of life again. But Joe's done a really nice job of just kind of breaking things up here.
Yep. Although, something that's nice about Gentile's build compared to some of the more just mono-red focus style builds of Painter, he's got a lot of Planeswalkers. If he can just land one of those, that's a fine backup plan.
He does have a copy, I believe, of Dak Faden in hand. There's the Seed of the Synod.
3 copies of Tezzeret in his deck as well.
Yep. You can see with the artifact lands in the deck, even though artifact lands aren't terribly popular in Legacy, it makes it that Mox Opal is very easy to turn on.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the reason I don't think we're going to see artifact lands come back in Modern.
0% chance.
Yeah. I think it's unlikely. A lot of players who do play Affinity Modern, they never got to play the original build of Affinity with artifact lands.
You're better off not doing that because then it'll just get banned.
Yeah.
So if you like playing with the deck, just be happy with your Darksteel Citadel.
Top is in, Gentile is empty-handed. Here's Joe with a Brainstorm. He needs lands, folks. Not sure if he's been able to find any just yet. Looks like he may have found a fetch with this Brainstorm. Also, Vanillion click in there. Two cards going to go back. There's a Scalding Tarn. There's a top. Now he's starting to function a little bit better. For Gentile, he's thrown some of his best punches kind of early on in this game.
Yep, he has tested Lossett. Lossett has answered every test thus far, required a lot of Force of Wills and a lot of Swords to Plowshares. But now Lossett making a land drop gets a top in play. Remember that Divining Top v Grindstone creates some awkwardness.
Yeah.
Hard for Lossett to bank too much on any one particular card being drawn.
Gentile will spin the top. Again, and as you mentioned too, you know, Miracles is really the ultimate top deck because they play so many fetch lands, and they have Miracles in their deck and Brainstorm and all that stuff. Gentile's deck is kind of just playing top in it, It's nice for Metalcraft and some other things with the deck, but it's not really a great top deck.
Yes.
Pass the turn back.
He's also got Painter Servant in the deck, so there's some incentive just to be playing with just any cheap artifact with some utility is going to be fine because of Welder. But the power level of this card in the respective decks is not the same thing.
Lossett going to search up a Volcanic Island. I think in this matchup, if you're Joe, you can actively search out those non-basics. Not much of a punishment there.
Gentile does not look like a Blood Moon deck to me.
Yeah.
By the looks of things over there.
Doesn't appear to be a Blood Moon deck or a Wasteland deck.
Although he actually has Blood Moons in his sideboard.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Maybe he'll catch you off guard. Lossett just a little bit of top mechanics. We'll pass the turn back. No land to play. Gentile will spin his top at the end of turn. There's a Volcanic Island. And just pass the turn back over to Lossett. Perhaps we'll see Joe go on the aggressive a little bit here with the Vendilion Clique, and we will. Might be a hard cast Force Will. Yep,
sure.
That'll stop the Vendilion Clique.
I like that play just fine from Gentile. Keep the board clear, give himself as many draw steps as possible.
Here's a Brainstorm from Joe. He'll draw 3. Looks like Jace the Mind Sculptor within those cards. There's also an island there. I believe a Cavern of Souls as well. And you have to imagine Terminus is going to make its way back on top of the deck and float around it with the top now.
I also like Lossett bringing the Jace into hand. He doesn't want it on the top of the deck because of Grindstone. Yes, he can do some finagling with the Sensei's Divine top, but he doesn't want to have to use his resources that way. Jace in hand is safe.
See the Synod? That's going to tap. Here's a top activation. Cavern of Souls in this matchup, typically naming Wizard, and just for his deck as well.
Yep.
Not much of a surprise there. Joe will spin with top. Now he'll draw. Island and Jace in the grip. Terminus still floating around. Now here is Jace. And that's a very quick Brainstorm here. This is not the kind of card that Gentile wants to play against, but for what it's worth, in a game like this, no one wants to play against Jace.
Well, as long as the board remains clean, I mean, Gentile's drawing to a lot of cards to win the game on the spot.
Jace is in. Joe gonna Brainstorm. Gentile says, I will activate my top in response. So maybe a Red Blast effect here. But no, we're good. Now, just curious to see how Lossett does want to organize things here. 2 lands on Terminus floating around in there.
Yeah, with the Terminus on top of the deck, it means that even if Gentile draws a Painter Servant, if he goes for the kill right away, Lossett can Terminus it, break it up.
Again, he is just kind of playing a weird game here because his opponent in Lewis does have a Grindstone.
Yeah.
So he wants to be able to float the Terminus in there as long as he can. But remember, that was a Brainstorm from Joe, not a top activation.
Right.
So he gets to keep one of the cards in his hand. So now Gentile will spin. Both these players get to look at 3 cards a lot. Gentile will draw. That's a Scalding Tarn.
Ooh, some more looks at it.
Now all you need is a good pile shuffle here, and you'll be good to go. Don't worry, coffee's on the way.
Yep.
We'll keep you awake. Time to draw a top. All right, there's an answer to Jace at least.
Okay. I was hoping for a second there that Gentile was going to shuffle his top away, but I guess it's probably not happening.
It's too important.
Yeah, no,
It's got to stay.
Totally understand. Especially now he's drawn a Scalding Tarn. He can actually shuffle his deck now. It's
Yep.
pretty crazy.
Lossett will spin. Brainstorm among those cards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
Grind you. Maybe Joe wanted that to happen all along. Yeah, because his last card down was a Brainstorm. So, hey, maybe that was the goal.
No, it was definitely on Joe's radar. When he taps out, there's a big incentive for Gentile to use the Grindstone at that point. Because if Joe has mana left over, he can simply reorganize the cards and clear off the worst two. So Gentile's probably going to take that stab anytime Joe taps out. Joe's aware of this, and so he puts the trash on top of the deck, anticipating that Gentile is going to use the Grindstone.
Joe going to search for planes with the Arid Mesa. And we might have some more top mechanics here in just a second.
Oh, I believe it.
Yep. What would we have to pay you to play a top deck? I want to see you spin a top around.
I would do it once on a lark.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would do it once.
See you just spinning a top. I just want much like you give people the truth for Modern, I want someone to just give you a Miracles deck. Sign you up. And I want it to be like Reduke Miracles, just like one win condition.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
It's not a hard sell to get me to play a Predict.
That's true. Well, I'd have to remove the Predict from the deck. I'd make you play something like Forget.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Opt. Get you a real nice fun of.
Portent.
Yeah, I was going to say Portent next.
Yeah, definitely Portent.
Yeah.
Portent's sweet with Miracles because you draw the card the next turn.
Oh, I know.
So it's like a combo.
Yeah, Portent is a real delight. Here's a Volcanic Island for Gentile. There's a Great Furnace, spin the top.
Remember, this whole time, Gentile is just threatening a kill or very close to it.
Yeah. He needs he needs a Painter Servant. He's got the Grindstone. He's got one half of the combo. 2 Painter Servants down, but there are many ways for him to find him. He's got some fetches in his deck, and he may have just found one right now. Who knows?
I mean, even Tezzeret here is awesome.
Yeah. Well, the way he's reaching for 4 mana, I think he may have found one. There's Tezzeret. The Agent of Bolas. For me, this is the Planeswalker that I thought was going to be completely busted and was not as good as I thought it was going to be.
Well, it's an awesome card. It just requires a very specific deck. You need to be playing with a bunch of artifacts and a blue-black deck. So, but it is awesome for this deck, no doubt about it.
I remember when that thing got spoiled and released and everything, I was like, this thing's unbelievable. There's no downsides to this thing. And the artwork's super cool.
Artwork is super cool. The downside is the cards you have to put in your deck.
Yeah.
But once you've built the deck, this card's a great payout.
Joe's turn was pretty simple. He forced the will of the Tezzeret, spun his top a little bit, played a land, I believe, and just passed the turn back. So now we're back Gentile's way. He's going to recast his top, spin his top, see if he can find something else to do this turn. His Tezzeret failed, but perhaps he can find another one. And Tezzeret's actually a way for him to just kind of break serve on this.
Yes.
Hey, just going to pass. Nothing doing. Lossett's drawing. Spinning. Just a bunch of lands here for Joe. Oddly enough, Joe just hasn't found like any fetches.
Yep, no ways to shuffle right now.
Yeah.
Interested to see if Gentile's going to start clearing his own deck off. It looks like he will.
Yep. Looks like nothing helpful there. Now he's going to spin his top.
It's not quite as smooth as doing it with a fetch land, but, you know, he still gets to improve his draw step over time.
Yep. I have played Painter once. Targeting yourself with the old Grindstone comes up more than you think, because some of the cards that you can draw are pretty horrible. The Nile Spellbound, the Ensnaring Bridge, for example, not so much in this matchup.
I think Gentile there with a Divining Top activation, hold priority, Divining Top again, which
Your thoughts?
should probably be a DQ.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the rules all that well.
The top, forget, retop,
Yeah.
or as I like to call it, the Dan Musser.
The bus man top.
The Mussman top. Yeah. That's a bannable offense. Now, Goblin Welder, all kidding aside, is a real card right now.
Yeah.
It looks like, however, Joe has finally found something to do with a Venser.
And Venser plus Caracas against this deck in this board state's very, very powerful.
Though I don't know if Joe has enough mana to actually Venser here.
No, he doesn't. He can't Venser right now, but the Welder's on the stack. He doesn't need to do anything
Okay.
just yet.
Just want to make sure. Looks like there might be another Welder here. Draw a card. Back on top of the deck. Is Tezzeret.
Really bad news for Lossett.
This is starting to get hard for Joe now. Because as we mentioned, you know, Grindstone's been out there the entire time. Now, Gentile gets to look at the top 5 cards. He gets to take an artifact among them. And he's got a lot of draws in his deck, be it Painter Servant, be it Welder, be it Tezzeret, which are must counters.
On top of that, he's at risk of just dying to the -4 on Tezzeret.
Yep.
There's a lot of artifacts in play there. There's a top, a Grindstone, an Opal, I believe 3 artifact lands.
That's 12.
That's one more artifact and it's lethal.
Yep.
So this Venser's got a lot of different targets it's got to work towards right now.
Joe quickly spins the top. There's Tundra. Yeah, as you said it, Venser's got a lot to do. Now, I don't believe there are any Painter Servants in the graveyard.
No, they've both been targeted with Swords to Plowshares. So they've both been exiled.
That's a good thing for Joe. But right now, for Louis Gentile, he might be thinking Ultimate with Tezzeret, and it could be a game winner. Gonna spin the top. Doing a little math here. You mentioned 3 artifact lands, 2 Great Furnace, 1 Seat of the Side. Now there's a Mox Opal, there's a top, there's a Grindstone.
Yeah, it looks like he's not pulling the trigger on it. It's a little short of lethal. And just doing this is not a bad way to go either.
Yep. So he's going to find another top. Now he'll spin his top again. A lot of deck manipulation here with this particular build of Painter.
Just going off, reorganizing the top 3 cards of his deck. It's a lot of different ways to do it, you know?
Well, it ensures that you actually draw good cards. Now he's looking through the graveyard to see what to weld. It's funny, Welder was a little bit before my time. I think right during your heyday.
I was playing Standard. There weren't a whole lot of Welder decks in Standard because the games were just over too fast for Common Welder to be good. But it is busted.
Here comes Venser. So Joe's plan was to draw a card with top. And then Gentile said, I'm going to Grindstone you. And now Joe wants to reorganize. So, a pretty crazy stack here. Well, it looks like the first thing that's going to resolve is Venser.
Remember, this is happening through Cavern.
Yep. So Joe wants to bounce his top. Now he gets to look at the top 3.
Just going off.
Yeah, both players just going nuts with top right
Just
now.
reorganizing cards, looking at different cards, contemplating drawing particular cards, and then deciding to draw other cards instead.
Now Grindstone's going to resolve, mill that stuff, and now Joe gets to draw a card from his top. All right. Did Fencer bounce anything? Oh, it bounced the top, right.
Right.
Right, got
He's
it.
going off, remember?
Yep, I forgot.
This is the point of the deck, is you just get to this board state where you get to reorganize cards.
I once called Joe out after a match for drawing a card with top and then bouncing it with Fencer, and he just said, look, it's cool. He had no defense. He's just like, look, it's just a cool play.
It's free, assuming that you value mana and time at nothing.
Yeah. Might be Jace time now.
Well, Joe needs to make sure that he can break up the Tezzeret ultimate should that come up.
Yep.
That's the big thing.
Spin the top.
And Gentile is clearly playing for that as he chump blocked the Venser with the Welder this turn to keep Tezzeret's loyalty as high as possible.
I don't think he has anything else to play towards. Though he may have found a Painter Servant. Ensnaring Bridge. It's another artifact. Joe will spin.
What this game needed was to be slowed down.
And now we're going to get a Tezzeret Ultimate, I think. Joe, yep, Joe's just dead. Wow, okay. Louis Gentile's going to win, getting a run here over Joe Lossett. Grixis Painter up a Game of Miracles in a marathon first game. We're under 25 minutes here.
That was interesting because Joe had the option there, I think, of Caracasing the Venser for disruption, but I think probably just figured I can't maintain the game that way, so I just got to hope that by leaving up mana, leaving a bunch of cards in my hand, that Gentile's not going to pull the trigger. He did. Now we're on to game 2.
Well, let's take a look at the sideboards here for Joe Lossett and Louis Gentile. We'll start with Lossett. His 3 Flusterstorms, his 2 Wear Tears, his 2 Red Elemental Blast, 2 Relic Progenitus, bunch of 1-ups here, and it's a Staticaster Mountain. Sulfur Elemental, Containment Priest, Ethersworn Canonist, and Pithing Needle.
Well, the Needle's great in this matchup, the 2 copies of Relic of Progenitus and the 2 copies of Wear Tear. Is it Staticaster is a little narrow? It is a nice answer to Goblin Welder, but Gentile's obviously got a lot of different things going on in this deck, so I don't know if you can bring in a card that narrow. 3 Blood Moons, 3 Flusterstorms, 2 Graphic Cage, 2 Transmute Artifact, a Curse Totem, a Spellskite, a Phyrexian Revoker, Red Elemental Blast, and an Ancient Grudge here for Gentile. Can definitely get behind the Revoker and the Spellskite. Beyond that, not really that interested in anything here. I guess you can try and hope that Lossett plays sloppy and that Blood Moon gets him, but I think Lossett's going to be on the ball for that in the post-board games, and Miracles plays it with a bunch of basics.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They'll be shuffling up, getting ready here for game number 2. But right now, we're going to talk the Black Friday sale here with Star City Games. We got huge savings, 4 days only. It's going to end on Monday. There's a lot of cool stuff going on the website.
Yeah, a lot of good sales on sealed product, including boxes of Battle for Zendikar, and a lot of great sales on graded stuff and some alpha, beta, unlimited style, dual lands, power, old iconic cards. So for your cube, for your vintage deck, or if you're just interested in sealed product, a lot of good deals on the website right now. Sale ends Monday, 11:59 a.m. Eastern time, so not that much time left, but there's still some great deals, so head on over, check it out, StarCityGames.com.
Best of all, don't have to beat up any kids to get your stuff.
No, you do not.
It's my favorite part of our Black Friday sale. Some truly horrifying pictures on Twitter from Black Friday. Did you really need that iPad 3? Did you?
Well,
did you?
Hey, it's easy to get hung up on the people doing the shoving, and definitely it's not a good look. But there's a large cultural influence that goes into all this stuff, and I think it's cheap to try to lay blame all at the feet of one person or a group of people.
If you want to go out to your local Target and just push people around, it's fine.
It is fine.
It's fine.
That should not be limited to one day out of the year.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That's why some people just go to concerts.
Right.
They just want to push people around in a circle. Not really my thing.
But that's different because in that scenario, both people are opting in.
That's true.
In Target,
That's true.
most people don't go to the Target looking to get shoved, which is where the analogy breaks down.
What if there were just 2 people at Target just looking to shove people? They just have a shove off.
I think that's fine for two consenting adults to want to do that. I would suggest they leave the target.
Sure, they can do that anywhere.
Yeah, the idea of externalities is important in relationships. Like, you and I should be free to do whatever we want, but sometimes our actions affect third parties, and then we have to have rules and regulations.
That's true.
You and I shoving each other in the target definitely qualifies.
That's true. That's true.
Knock each other into a rack of clothes or into someone's shopping cart, and then now it's a problem. That's why I just take it outside.
A classic saying.
Take it outside.
Guys, just take it outside. How does outside feel about that, though? We never ask.
Right, well, you can't. You're never gonna have a perfect set of rules and regulations. That's just the way that works.
It's true. Joe Lossett here, going to be on the play for game number 2. I think it's a pretty likely chance we see him at the Players' Championship this year.
Yes.
He's looking pretty good right now as far as the standings are concerned.
Won the IQ, huge deal.
Beat Tom Ross in the finals.
Doing well in this event.
Yeah. 36-year-old from Redlands, California. An invitational top 8 during season 1 of last year. 17 Open Series top 8s. 5 wins, 4 of which are standard, 1 legacy. And of course, always playing miracles.
Yes.
Always.
Well, a little bit of reanimator. He dabbled his toes in the water there.
I think he's back in his comfort zone.
Yeah, but now with Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time banned, I think he's happy playing this deck again.
And if he does qualify for the Players' Championship, I don't know if we're going to see the juke and jive like we saw last year.
No, I would imagine he's going to be playing miracles.
Yeah, probably just stick with it.
Yeah, I think so.
It was funny, too, because just he was preparing so hard with that Reanimator deck, just trying to figure out the best time to break it out. I want to know who's going to pull maybe like, imagine if just Tom Ross qualifies and he just plays, like, Teamer Delver instead of Infect.
Be a big disappointment.
I don't even know what I would do.
The problem is that you got Joe in there who's a miracles person. We saw it last year, Reed Duke with the Peacekeeper. Got to imagine people are going to be running that back.
Yeah. I hope someone just brings a Malira.
Sure.
to the Players'
A Malira would be
Championship.
great.
Yeah.
Just one in an elf sideboard.
Or some other just crazy hate for Infect. I want something real obscure. Like Knight of Soul's Betrayal, that's too stock.
Leeches.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I want something crazy.
I think the card you're looking for is Leeches.
Here's a brainstorm for Gentile. Looks like he's found some lands. Well, what do we... Target player loses... Oh, I've never seen this before. Leeches deals 1 damage to that player for each poison card removed. This is a real card?
Yeah, Homelands, baby.
Oh. Get yours today. StarCityGames.com.
Not part of the Black Friday, so...
You have to pay full price for this one.
This is a really good flavor match, too. Because leeches remove poison from your body, but they cause other harm.
Yes.
Perfect.
As you like to say, you pay cost in other ways.
Always pay cost in other ways.
Yes.
Like, if you cast that card twice in a game, you just die to regular damage. So it's not really that good of an answer, but it is hilarious. Flash it back with Snapcaster Mage.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Jace Telepath Unbound.
Right, yeah.
Recast from the graveyard.
The card you're thinking of is Leeches.
I would give a lot to see someone cast Leeches against Tom.
Yeah.
At the Players' Championship. I really would.
The problem is that you just die to regular damage. No way to avoid it.
Little brainstorm action here for both players. We're going to head back Joe's way. A thing to note, not a lot of time left in the match, and Joe is down a game. Miracle's not a fast closer. Now, I know he does have Monastery Mentor and some more creatures in his deck, so he might be able to close the games out pretty quickly.
I mean, the number of game actions that occurred in game 1 would make it very challenging to finish a 3-game match inside of 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And they were not necessarily resolved at the fastest pace. So here we are.
Counterbalance on the stack. We'll see if it does resolve. You can see Joe knows. Tick-tock goes that clock, and the draw is not ideal. There's a brainstorm. Great Furnace among the cards drawn here.
I mean, given the nature of Gentile's deck, I feel like he's got to fight over this.
Yeah, he's going to force a will.
So he got a lot of 1 casting cost cards. You know, you would ideally be able to red blast it with it on the stack, but that's, I guess, not something he had the option to do, so he has to force.
To grind him on the upkeep because he does not want to draw the cards that he put back. Make your own perfect brainstorm.
Yep.
That's what that is. Great Furnace, pass the turn back. Lossett will draw. Caracas, pass the turn back. Snapcaster Mage in hand. Here's top. Spin to win.
This is not the card that Joe wanted to see in this moment. Not necessarily because of power level reasons, but because of time reasons.
Yep. I think for Joe, he might have to play a little bit unorthodox here.
He's got to speed the game up. There's no way he can just sit back on his heels if he's trying to win this game and the next one inside of 14 minutes.
I'm sure he'd like to just kind of sit, play Snapcaster Mage at its best spot and all that stuff. But again, given the time, you know, we're under 14 minutes now. I think he's got to do things like just play Snapcaster Mage to get the clock out there.
Yes, I agree.
Cast Brainstorm might not be optimal right now. It doesn't have a fetch land or anything like that. But time is not on his side. I mean, at this point, I'd be surprised if he can even win both games.
Well, that's one of the merits of playing the build of his deck. It's more creature heavy, so winning a 2-game set essentially inside of 14 minutes is possible, more so than, let's say, Reed's style of the deck, but
that's part of the reason we see Reed play so fast.
It's still going to be tough.
Grindstone going to mill 2 of Gentile's cards, and now we'll get an activation of top on the upkeep. So Gentile able to clear the top of his library for the things he does not like and have top help him find the things that he does like. It looks like he's found something he wants to draw, so he'll draw a card. Ancient Tomb. All right.
All right. Guess winning the game is a fine way to speed it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's going for broke.
Yep.
He says, I got no cards in my hand. All right, that resolves. I'm going to try to kill you. I mean, you got to name a color with Painter Servant, obviously, but hey, name blue. This is an attempt. I don't know if he's going to activate Grindstone now or wait. I feel like you're probably just supposed to activate it now.
Well, I mean, you can at least, if you would just assume that Lossett's got some sort of answer to the Painter Servant, you can force him to at least leave up the 1 mana if you're not doing anything.
Okay.
If you think you're good, then obviously you just let it rip. The middle ground here, I guess, is activating inside of Joe's upkeep, where you at least force him to burn off a mana on his own turn, should he have an answer, and you still win the game on the spot the same way in the event that he has nothing. Although if you wait until his upkeep, then Venser works its way into the equation. So
it looks like there might be a bit of a discrepancy. Unsure. You see the players kind of chatting back and forth here, so looks like it has been worked out now. Here's an activation of Grindstone. And he actually named black, not blue.
Yeah, respecting the possibility of a red blast over in Joe's hand.
Here's Swords. That's going to kill Painter Servant, so he breaks up the combo.
And Gentile there without the option of trying to just put the top on top of the deck and rip a Pyroblast because he set the Painter Servant to black.
Yep. Now Joe's got to mill over 2 cards from Grindstone. It's a top and a Caracas. Now Joe's going to spin his top again. Leave those cards on top. You're going to see his pace of play pick up a little bit here because, well, it has to.
Yep.
Snapcaster going to come across for 2. There's a Scalding Tarn.
X2 with good breakers, you know, assuming that Joe's in a good spot to top 8 if he X3s, but X3 ones don't make it. A loss and a draw are the same thing.
Yep.
For the purposes of making top 8, and that's got to be Joe's goal here.
Joe's out of here. Probably just has a question for a judge here. And he's back.
Okay.
Resume play. That was another Painter's Servant. What's
Joe
that wear tear in hand?
Yeah, a lot of answers.
Yeah. Going to look a lot like what we saw last turn, I think. We'll see what color Gentile wants to name. He named black last time. And again, there's no guarantee that he has to make a move right now.
I would imagine he will, just because it'll wind up with the play that he made last turn. If it resolved, he just pushed, and I don't see the equation really changing if this were to resolve as well.
We might also just see Joe kill the grindstone in response. Yeah. He's going to wear that. So it looks like maybe grindstone down.
Well, Gentile can always spin the top for more information. Okay, looks like that is not happening. You don't know. It's a mystery down there.
Anything could be up there.
Could be anything.
Yep. Did Gentile leave a... It would be awesome if he left a grindstone on top. He did name black again.
He's got the mana left over.
He's got plenty of mana. Tezzeret? Okay. Gentile hoping this resolves. All right, Tezzeret's in.
With Vendilion clicking Caracas, Lossett has a lot of ways to manage the Tezzeret. So no real rush for him to use cantrips trying to hunt for some sort of counterspell. He can just let this go for now.
Gentile going to take a look at the top 5 cards. He'll get an artifact among them. We know there's at least a Sensei's Divine top on there. He's going to have to reveal whatever he finds. All right, it'll be Sensei's Divine top. He'll recast it. Joe going to sacrifice the fetch land. I think finishing 2 games out the window now. I think Joe's just got to play for a draw.
Yeah. I mean, Joe is not terribly close to winning this game.
Yeah.
It's looking like it's going to take quite a few more turns in any event, even though I think Joe's in a favorable position. By no means a lock, but he's solidly ahead right now.
I think, honestly, the only shot he's got is he finished this game in 2 minutes, and then it's a Monastery Mentor draw in game 3.
The problem is that Gentile's deck is also capable of killing quite fast.
Yep.
It's not just like, can Lossett cobble together a kill quickly?
Swords of Plowshare is the draw. This will clear out the Painter's Servant. Allow Lossett to kill Tezzeret if he'd like. I think it's probably wise to get that thing off the battlefield.
I mean, the ultimate gains a lot of life, so.
Yeah. Tezzeret down. The second to play Ponder now, I believe. Yep. So take a look at the top 3, Island among them. There's also a mountain in there. He'll shuffle. Gentile looking to play spoiler here. Mystery card there for Joe. I think it's another Ponder. Yep. All right, he found Mentor.
And Jace, okay.
Yep.
I don't know if that appreciably adds to his clock at this point. It's still probably in the neighborhood of 3 turns, but
yeah, he's going to keep this time. No surprise there.
at least Jace gives him a backup plan in the event that Gentile should find Ensnaring Bridge.
Another top, pass that turn back. Back to Gentile we go. He's got a Mox Opal, Sensei's Divine top, some other lands out there. But he's not very close to Grindstone plus Painter's Servant. Doesn't have a Tezzeret. Working with no cards in hand, just needs the top of his deck.
Yeah, no pieces of the combo right now.
Time to spin again.
Got a brainstorm. And then the brainstorm presents new information for the divining top.
It does.
It's the four corners offense of Magic.
Choose one.
Come on, Scalding Tarn.
Choose one. No more pile shuffling or no more Sensei's Divining Tops. You get one. You get to eradicate one or the other.
Right.
In for 5 comes Joe. There's a Cavern, likely to name Wizard. And Joe will just pass. Might have a top spin here in just a second, Patrick. Buckle up. No spin. No spin. No spin. What? We could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get a look. Time to draw. Dak Faden.
Okay, sure.
A little something new. Now, he could target himself with Dak Faden, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards.
And then the top is just essentially...
It's brand new.
It's brand new. So many permutations of what the top 3 cards of your deck can look like at that point.
Well, he does draw 2 and discard 2. It's a Faithless Looting. And now, top.
Dak Faden, the greatest thief in the multiverse. A time thief.
Yeah, stealing time.
He's just robbing time.
He doesn't say what he steals.
Right.
It's just that he's the greatest thief. Time to spin. Joe did find a Venser. He'll draw. It'll be an attack for 5. The question is just where is he going to go? Is he going to go towards Dak and get that off the battlefield, or is he going to go towards Gentile and bring him down to 3?
I think you can probably afford to go after Dak Faden in this spot. You have Monastery Mentor plus the 2 copies of Divine Top, so you can build up a huge board. And Dak Faden gives Gentile a lot of looks at Ensnaring Bridge, so I'd rather just cut that off. I know that Lossett has a Venser, but it's still why I open that up as being a concern.
Keep in mind, Lossett's Cavern is naming Human right now. There's Painter's Servant.
It's a blocker.
Yeah. It's also something to bounce a Venser. And Joe does have the Venser-Caracas interaction right now. Named Black. Spin the top. Get a fresh look. Now there's Intuition. You know what that does?
That's a reshuffle.
That's exactly what that is.
That's 3 new looks.
Yeah. All right, that's going to resolve. Gentile going to take 2 because of the Ancient Tomb.
Not really sure what there is in Gentile's deck here to move the needle.
Yeah, I think he's playing 4 grindstones, so I think he would just search for 3 grindstones and try to assemble, but he can't go off this turn.
And then if Lossett has Venser, then he can simply Venser the Painter Servant, 6 points of damage on the table.
But at this point now, Joe's not even rushing Gentile along because there are 30 seconds left.
Yeah, that ship has sailed.
Yep.
The thing is, you might as well still play out the untimed turns, assuming that Lossett's able to win the game next turn, because Gentile's deck can win very fast. It's possible for him on the play with 3 turns to be able to get a win. That depends how long it takes from here.
Is that a top?
No, that's 2 grindstones and then
Nihil Spellbound. Nihil Spellbound.
And Snaring Bridge.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A classic sampler intuition.
Yes. I was thinking just for a moment, it would be weird for him to search up another top unless he's just really trying to put you in the hard lock.
Right.
We're in turns now. Yeah, give him a grindstone. Rest will go to the graveyard. And now Lossett's going to play that Venser. I think he'll be bouncing Painter's Servant.
So Lossett will win this game, it appears, in turn 1 of turns.
Correct. Oh, and then, so there's the attack. Yeah, and that's going to do it. So, Joe Lossett's going to tie things up, but you saw a handshake there, so player's going to sign the slip. I believe it'll be recorded as a draw.
Yep,
Yeah.
Which is odd to me because I think Gentile's hypothetical most explosive draws can win on turn 2 with like all of his Mox Opals, his Lotus Petals, and so forth, but looks like they're just going to take the draw.